The ones who walked away thinking you'd fall always come back when they realize you didn't flinch. Let me ask you something, my friends. What if I told you the most powerful move you could ever make is to do nothing? Not a single message, no angry texts, no emotional outbursts, just unbothered silence so loud it echoes in their chest at night. You want to know what truly haunts people? It's not your pain, it's your peace. It's when they expect chaos from you and get calm. It's when they expect you to chase and you vanish instead. That's when the shift happens. That's when they crumble. Hey folks, imagine this. You're in a room with someone who just set a fire, and then they walk out, expecting you to panic, scream, beg them to come back with water. But instead, you just sit there, calm, cool, collecting your things, and then you leave and let the fire burn on their side. That's what not chasing feels like. That's what stoic power looks like. You don't fight for someone who lit the match and dared you to get hurt. You let them feel the heat of their own decisions. You see, when people disrespect you, ghost you, lie to you, or walk away thinking you'll collapse, they're not actually hoping for your silence. They're counting on your reaction. They want the drama. They want the messages. They want the emotional fireworks because it keeps them feeling powerful. So when you don't give it to them, when you go silent, when you disappear and focus on you, that silence turns into a mirror. And mirrors don't lie. The truth is, we've been fed the biggest lie of all, that chasing someone proves your love. No, my friends, chasing doesn't prove love. Chasing proves fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being forgotten. But love, real love, doesn't need to be chased. And someone who truly valued you would never put you in a position to beg for their attention in the first place. Let them sit in the space they created. Let them feel what it's like to lose access to the version of you who showed up with loyalty, with consistency, with presence. Because here's the thing. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because they thought they could replace you. And that's the delusion you're about to shatter, not by proving them wrong, but by becoming someone they never saw coming. This isn't about being cold. This is about being clear. You're not shutting them out to hurt them. You're stepping away to heal yourself. You're taking your energy back. You're no longer renting your worth to people who couldn't afford it. You are no longer auditioning for a role in a story that constantly writes you out. You're becoming the author now. And the next chapter, it's all about your rise. Folks, silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. And detachment, that's not giving up, it's growing up. Because sometimes the most mature thing you can do is not explain, not argue, not beg, but to let them wonder. Let them scroll through a life they no longer get access to and feel the sting of the distance they created. And you just keep building, keep glowing, keep rising. Because when you stop chasing, something wild happens. You start choosing, you stop fighting for scraps, and you start demanding tables where you're honored, not just tolerated. So right now, I want you to write it in the comments. I choose peace. Say it loud, say it clear. Type it below and let the universe feel it. And if you're really done chasing, then stay with me, because this is where the shift begins. Number 1, do not chase. Chasing confirms their illusion of power. The moment you chase someone who left you behind, you hand them the key to your self-worth and watch them throw it into the ocean. Let's stop pretending, my friends. Let's drop the act. You know that feeling, don't you? The panic in your chest after they walk away, the itch to reach out, explain yourself, fix things, prove you still matter. You think, maybe if I just say the right thing, maybe if I show them how much I care, they'll realize what they lost. But here's the brutal truth. They already know what you are. They just didn't value it. And the more you chase, the cheaper they think you are. Imagine you're holding a priceless piece of art, a masterpiece. You place it in someone's hands and they toss it on the floor like it's nothing. Now imagine trying to convince them it's worth millions while you watch them walk away. That's what chasing looks like. It's trying to prove your value to someone who's already decided you were replaceable. And that, my friends, is not love. That's self-abandonment. Let me ask you, why do we chase people who discarded us like loose change? Why do we beg for the attention of someone who couldn't even hold space for our heart? Because we were taught a lie. That love means pursuit. That effort equals value. That the more you fight for someone, the more it proves how real your feelings are. But chasing doesn't prove you love them. It proves you don't love you. They wanted you to chase. That's the game. They needed you to stay predictable, emotional, reactive, because that keeps you below them. That keeps the power in their hands. And every time you call, text, explain, check their story, send that "just thinking about you" message, you're not winning their heart. You're losing your soul, slowly, painfully, silently, but not anymore. Not here. Not now. From this point forward, you don't chase. You observe. You reclaim. You shift. I know what some of you are thinking. But what if they never come back? What if I lose them forever? Let me say something hard. If you have to chase them to keep them, you never really had them. And what you're actually afraid of losing isn't them. It's the illusion of love your mind built around them. You're not afraid of their absence. You're afraid of being alone with yourself. But that's where your power starts, when you finally stop running from the silence and start listening to it. The silence tells the truth. The chase masks it. When you don't chase, you force them to sit with themselves. You force them to face the damage they caused. And whether they feel guilt or not is no longer your concern. Because the goal isn't to make them miss you. The goal is to make you stop needing them. You want revenge, you want closure, you want peace. Don't send that message. Don't refresh their page. Don't let them keep renting space in your mind without paying a damn thing in return. You're not here to beg. You're here to build. And you can't build anything when you're chasing someone who's running in circles around your worth. Let me hit you with this. Chasing makes you easy to read, easy to manipulate, easy to ignore. But when you go silent, when you lean back instead of leaning in, when you give them nothing but stillness, they don't know what to do with that. Their power came from your reactions. So when you stop reacting, the whole game changes. They might act fine at first. They might post, party, flirt, laugh. But that's not healing. That's hiding. And you're not hiding anymore. You're rising. This path, I won't lie, it's not easy. You're going to wake up some nights reaching for your phone. You'll want to check if they watched your story. You'll want to ask if they ever cared. That's normal. But don't feed the craving. Starve it. Let the ache remind you that you're healing. Let the silence be your training ground. Because here's what you're really doing. You're not ghosting them. You're ghosting the version of yourself who accepted less than you deserved. You're not walking away from them. You're walking back to you. You have to understand. When you stop chasing, you start choosing. You choose peace. You choose dignity. You choose your standards. You stop handing out discounts to people who were never willing to pay the price of presence, loyalty, and respect. They made a choice. Let them live with it. Your job is not to rescue them from the silence. Your job is to rise within it, quietly, ruthlessly, unapologetically. And one day, maybe not now, maybe not next week, but one day they will look back and realize you were the best thing they never got to keep. Not because you proved it to them, but because you stopped chasing and they watched you become someone they could no longer reach. And when they check back in, when they come lurking, wondering if you still care, don't respond with words. Respond with silence, success, serenity. Let them feel the absence of a presence they took for granted. So, my friends, if you're done chasing, if you're ready to shift the energy and stand in your power, drop it in the comments right now. I don't chase. I choose. Say it out loud. Say it to yourself. Say it to the version of you that used to beg and bend, and then show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you, because this isn't the end. This is just the beginning of you. And stay with me, because what's coming next, it's going to show you how silence isn't just stillness, it's strategy. Number 2, silence is the trap they didn't see coming. They expected fireworks, you gave them fog, and now they're lost in the silence they thought they could survive. They were prepared for you to explode. They thought you'd snap, scream, maybe even beg. They were ready for the long emotional texts, the midnight calls, the guilt-soaked paragraphs about how much you cared. That's the script they expected, because that's the script most people follow. But you, my friend, you flipped the script. You did something they didn't train for. You gave them nothing. And that messes with people more than any argument ever could. Let me paint the picture for you. Imagine someone walks into a room, tips over everything, your trust, your peace, your sense of self, and then waits. They wait for you to lose your mind, to scream, to fall apart, but instead, you look at them, you say nothing, you walk away, you don't slam the door, you just disappear. And the silence? Oh, that silence becomes a fog they can't navigate. That's the trap. That's the storm they didn't see coming. Silence isn't just the absence of noise, it's the presence of power, because silence leaves them with no script to control, no reaction to manipulate, no words to twist. They can't fight with you, they can't bait you, they can't feed their ego if you've already packed up and left the table. And don't get me wrong, it's not easy. You're going to feel the pull, the weight, the old programming in your bones screaming, say something, explain yourself, make them understand. But you have to realize that chasing closure from someone who broke you is like begging the storm not to drown you. It's never going to give you what you need. Silence is the clean cut, the final page. And that stillness, that's when their mind starts racing. See, when you stay silent, it makes them uncomfortable, not because you said something hurtful, but because you didn't say anything at all, and that forces them to fill in the blanks. They start asking themselves questions they never planned for. Did I go too far? Why isn't he reaching out? Is he already over me? Did I just lose something real? And those questions, that's the chaos they now have to sit with, alone. You want to talk about impact? It's not in the fight. It's in the lack of it. It's when your name disappears from their notifications, when your story view is missing, when they post something meant for your eyes and you're nowhere to be found. That's what gets to them. That's what flips the game. And here's the deeper truth. Silence isn't just for them, it's for you. Because every time you stay quiet, every time you resist the urge to explain, you're telling yourself, I'm no longer giving my power to people who can't handle it. You're reclaiming your peace. You're protecting your energy. You're saying, I don't owe anyone a performance of pain. They wanted fire. You gave them fog, and now they're wandering in it, trying to find the version of you they thought would still be there. But he's gone, replaced by someone who's no longer emotionally accessible on demand. Let me give you a quote to tattoo on your spirit. Your silence will disturb the ones who only knew how to control you through chaos. And that's the whole point. They don't get to cause the storm and expect shelter in your world anymore. They don't get to ghost you and still feel seen. They don't get to disrespect you and still feel important. not when you've gone quiet, not when your silence has become the lesson. So if you're sitting there thinking, but what if they think I don't care? Understand this. Caring doesn't always mean speaking. Sometimes it means letting go. Sometimes it means giving the consequences enough room to echo, because silence is not avoidance. Silence is judgment. Silence says, you've said enough. It says, I've heard enough. It says, this conversation is over, even if you're not ready for it to be. And if they were real, if they truly valued you, your absence will be felt. Loudly, painfully, quietly. And if they weren't, if they never reach out, if they never feel the weight, good. That's your confirmation. That's the universe saying, you just dodged a storm you didn't need to weather. You're not here to play games anymore. You're not here to explain your worth to people who see love as a power play. You're not here to keep talking while they keep walking. You're here to grow. You're here to rise. You're here to use silence like a sword, sharp, clean and final. So let the silence stretch. Let the space between you become a canyon, and while they're trying to yell across it, trying to figure out what happened, you keep walking in the other direction, into your future, into your peace, into your purpose. Because this isn't just about them anymore. This is about every time you silenced your needs just to keep someone close. Every time you over-explained just to be misunderstood. Every time you kept talking, hoping they'd hear your heart, when all they wanted was control. That ends now. Silence isn't punishment. Silence is proof. Proof that you're no longer accessible. Proof that you're no longer entertaining confusion. Proof that your peace is too expensive to trade for temporary attention. So if you feel the pull to speak, pause. If you want to text, breathe. If you want to explain, don't. Let them feel the fog. Let them sit in the silence. Let them wander in the void they carved out themselves. And you walk forward. So if you're done being the predictable one, the emotional one, the one who always says something, then I want you to type it below right now. Drop it in the comments and make it real. My silence is power. Say it, feel it, own it, and stay with me, because the next part, it's going to show you exactly why detachment doesn't just protect you, it makes you dangerous. Number 3, space reveals their true intentions, not words. Give someone space, and they'll either reach for you or reveal they never intended to hold on in the first place. Let's get one thing straight, my friends. Talk is cheap. Promises are easy. Anyone can say, I care about you. Anyone can whisper sweet nonsense into your ear while they're getting attention from 5 other people behind your back. Words cost nothing in a world flooded with noise. But space? Space is the ultimate truth serum, because space doesn't lie. Space exposes. You want to know if they really care? Don't ask, don't text, don't plead. Just step back, let go, fall silent, create distance, and watch. Because what they do in that silence, that's who they are. You see, when you stop initiating, stop chasing, stop keeping the connection alive with your energy, you stop subsidizing their illusion. And what happens next? One of 2 things. They either close the distance, or they vanish. They either come forward or show you they were only sticking around because of the comfort you provided. Either way, you win, because you're not forcing a role they never intended to play. Let me break it down with a metaphor. Imagine you're holding a rope. They're on the other end. For weeks, maybe months, maybe even years. You've been pulling, tugging, holding tension. You text first. You apologize first. You plan everything. You forgive too fast. But the second you loosen your grip, the rope just drops. No pull back, no effort, just dead weight. And in that moment, the truth hits like a punch in the gut. They weren't holding it with you. They were just letting you do the work. And that's not love, that's leeching. So stop playing tug of war with someone who isn't even pulling back. You know what makes this hard? The fear. The fear that if you don't reach out, they'll forget you. That if you stop trying, it'll all fade away. That you'll look up one day and realize they moved on without ever turning around. But let me tell you something that most people never hear. If space makes them forget you, they were already halfway gone. The truth is, when someone values you, space doesn't make them forget. It makes them remember. It makes them reflect. It makes them realize how much of their life felt better with you in it. But that realization only happens if you stop filling the space yourself. If you keep calling, texting, reaching out, they never get a chance to feel your absence. They stay comfortable, complacent, and you keep bleeding energy into someone who's already emotionally cashed out. So give them the space, and give yourself something even better: clarity. You've got to understand, space is not abandonment. Space is the filter that separates real from fake, because only two things come from silence: effort or exposure. Either they meet you halfway, or you finally see they were never walking toward you in the first place. And let's be honest, folks, some of you are afraid of space because you know the answer already. Deep down, you know if you stop reaching out, they won't, and that terrifies you, because that means facing the truth. And the truth hurts a lot more than the fantasy, but pain is better than lies. Truth stings for a moment. Illusions drain you for years. You have to be brave enough to let the silence answer the question your heart is too scared to ask. Were they ever truly in this with me? Let them show you. Don't tell them. Don't beg them. Don't guilt them. Just step back and wait. If they come back with intention, presence, clarity, if they fade into the fog, they were never yours to begin with. Just a distraction dressed up as destiny. And here's the thing most people won't admit. Sometimes you'll give space and they'll reach out, but not to reconnect, to manipulate, to pull you back into their orbit, to test you, not to choose you. Be sharp, be awake, watch their actions, not their apologies. Because "I miss you" means nothing if it's followed by the same behavior that made you walk away. And don't you dare let loneliness make you forget what made you take that space in the first place. A few days of silence can feel like a century, but it's not a sign to break the distance. It's a test of your discipline, of your worth, of your growth. Every second you don't reach out, you grow stronger. Every day you stay silent, you rebuild your value. Every moment you resist the urge to break no contact, you remind yourself, "I do not beg to be kept." Let them wonder. Let them scroll. Let them feel the space you once filled so effortlessly. Let them sit in a room where your energy used to live, and now it's just cold air and regret. Because you're not cold, you're clear. You're not punishing them. You're protecting yourself. You're not pushing them away. You're letting them show you if they ever plan to come close. So next time you wonder what they're thinking, don't text. Next time you feel the need to check their story, don't tap. Next time you crave closure, breathe instead. Let space speak. Let it do what words never could. Because eventually, space becomes a mirror. And if they don't like what they see reflected back, that's not your fault. It's their truth. So I want you to type this in the comments right now. Declare it, embody it, make it your line in the sand. I let space reveal the truth. Say it for the version of you that begged. Say it for the version of you that kept pulling the rope. Say it for the one who held on long after they let go. Because from here on out, you don't chase, you observe. You hold your silence like a weapon, and you let the space do what your words never could. Stay with me, because next, we're going to talk about what really starves their ego and why detachment is the move they never see coming, until it's too late. Number 4. Chasing feeds their ego. Detachment starves it. Every time you reach out to someone who walked away, you're not reconnecting. You're refueling the same ego that thought it could live without you. Let's call it what it is, my friends. Chasing is nourishment for their ego. It's a 5-course meal of validation, power, and attention. And if they walked away, mistreated you, or disrespected you, but still know you'll text, call, beg, or check in, that's not love in their eyes. That's leverage, and leverage always tips the scale against you. They might not say it out loud, but inside they're thinking, I can disappear, treat them like an option, and they'll still show up. I still matter, I still have power. And you? You're there, convincing yourself that reaching out is brave, that it's about love, that it's your job to prove your loyalty. But here's the raw truth. Loyalty to someone who disrespected you isn't loyalty. It's self-betrayal dressed up as romantic courage. Imagine this. You're a flame, burning bright, giving warmth, giving energy, and every time you chase, you're handing out pieces of your fire, a spark here, a flicker there, until eventually you're cold, empty, dimming. Meanwhile, they're lit up, glowing, warmed by the fire you kept giving, even when they stopped standing close enough to feel it. You can't keep lighting people up who are only using your flame to stay warm on lonely nights, only to walk away again once they feel okay. Detachment is the opposite of that cycle. It's not indifference, it's discipline. It's saying, I'm not going to be your source of energy anymore. I'm not going to feed the ego that forgot my worth. You want to break their illusion of control? Go quiet, pull your energy back. Not in anger, not to punish them, just to restore balance. Because the moment you detach, not emotionally numb, but emotionally unavailable to those who abuse it, is the moment their power starts to starve. You become unpredictable, and unpredictability destroys the comfort they used to have. They can't read you anymore. They can't play the same game because the player they were counting on just left the arena. That silence, that space, that sudden withdrawal of attention, it creates scarcity. And scarcity triggers curiosity. Curiosity turns into confusion. Confusion leads to anxiety. And that anxiety, that's when they start checking your stories. That's when they start asking mutual friends. That's when they post thirst traps just to see if you'll bite. But you don't, not anymore, because now you see the pattern for what it is. Every message you sent fed their pride. Every double text was a signal that they still had emotional rent-free space in your mind. Every paragraph of vulnerability. They didn't read it with empathy. They read it with ego, like trophies on a shelf. Look how much they need me. That's what chasing does. Detachment, though. Detachment flips the mirror. Now they're wondering. They're the ones feeling ignored. They're the ones replaying memories. Not because you told them to, but because you stopped reminding them of your presence. Your absence became louder than any words you could have said. And that absence isn't punishment, it's awakening. But let's be real here. Detachment is hard, especially when you care deeply, especially when your heart still imagines what could have been. But caring doesn't mean giving. Caring doesn't mean keeping the door open for someone who walked out with muddy shoes and never wiped them on the way in. Caring means you still feel, but detachment means you don't let those feelings control your actions. It's strength. It's emotional strategy. It's loving someone in silence, but loving yourself more in action. You want them to feel the shift? Then shift. Quietly, powerfully, without the need to announce it. Do less, say less, react less. Let them sit in the hunger of attention they used to feast on. Let them scroll through their phone, hoping for your name to pop up, and it never does. Let them post something subtle just to bait you, and be met with your calm, detached indifference. They may not show it, but it shakes them. Because silence from someone who used to care loudly, that hits different. Now they wonder, are they done? Are they seeing someone else? Did I lose them for real? But none of that matters. Not because you're cold, but because you finally chose to feed yourself instead of feeding their ego. Let them live in that space you used to occupy. Let them feel what it's like to not be worshipped, not be adored, not be chased. Let them remember what it felt like when you were around, and feel the void now that you're not. You're not being cruel, you're being clear. You're saying, my energy is no longer free. My presence is no longer guaranteed. My attention is no longer your emotional crutch. And when they feel that shift, oh, they will feel it. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but one day it'll hit them in the middle of the night. A quiet moment, a memory, a picture, a missed call they never got to make, and it won't be anger that fills them. It'll be regret. Because detachment does what chasing never could. It gives them the gift of self-reflection. You're not here to be their source of ego boosts. You're here to become something untouchable. And untouchable people don't chase, they rise. So I want you to comment right now, put it in writing, let it solidify your shift. Say it with your chest. I starve the ego. I feed my soul. Say it for the version of you that gave too much. Say it for the person you're becoming. Say it for everyone who thought they could play with you and still win. Because now the rules have changed. You've stopped being predictable. You've stopped being available. You've stopped chasing. And the moment you starve their ego, that's the moment your value skyrockets. Stay with me, because next we're going to talk about what happens when you start building in silence and become everything they never believed you'd become without them. Number 5. Build in the dark. Let them watch you evolve from the sidelines. They thought you'd break without them. Now they're watching you build in silence, and the sound of your absence is louder than any message you could have sent. Let me hit you with something brutal, my friends. They never expected your silence to grow roots. They thought it was temporary, a tantrum, a phase. They thought you'd go quiet for a few days, maybe a week, then cave, crawl back, beg for closure. And when you didn't, when the notifications stayed empty, when your name stopped popping up, when your energy stopped orbiting their little planet, they panicked, quietly, secretly, deep down. But here's where it gets real. You're not just silent. You're evolving. You're not sitting in the dark feeling sorry for yourself. You're sitting in the dark building. That gym session, that's therapy, that new project, that's self-worth, that book, that meditation, that grind. That's the blueprint of the man they never thought you'd become. They thought they knew you, emotional, reactive, always available. But that version of you died the moment you chose yourself. And now they're stuck outside the gates, watching, scrolling, lurking, wondering how the hell you got so far away without ever saying a word. Let me break this with a metaphor. Think of a seed. It's buried, cold, unseen, forgotten. It doesn't scream. It doesn't announce. It just breaks itself open in silence. And before anyone knows what's happening, it's already sprouting, already rising, already unstoppable. That's you. You're not being lazy. You're germinating, quietly, powerfully. You see, when you stop giving energy to people who couldn't handle it, that energy doesn't vanish. It redirects into your purpose, into your body, into your clarity, into your money, into your glow. And suddenly you're not just healing, you're sharpening. And here's the twist. They'll act like they don't see it, like they're unbothered, like your absence doesn't matter. But trust me, they see it. Oh, they feel it. They check your stories in private. They hover over your profile in silence. They ask mutuals how you're doing. They piece together fragments like detectives chasing ghosts. But what they find? Nothing. No posts, no subtweets, no emotional breadcrumbs, just stillness. And that stillness, that's torment. Because silence leaves space for imagination. And imagination always fills in the blanks with fear. Are they over me? Are they talking to someone else? Why do they seem different? That's the beauty of building in the dark. You don't give them the satisfaction of watching your process. You give them the shock of your arrival. And let me say this, you don't build in silence to prove them wrong. You build to prove yourself right, that you were always the prize, that their exit didn't break you. It cleared the space for something greater. You don't level up to get their attention. You level up because they're no longer worth yours. This is the part they never understand. When they left, they assumed you'd be stuck in replay mode, staring at your phone, dissecting old messages, waiting. But what you did instead, you picked up the pieces. You stacked them like bricks. You turned your pain into concrete. And now you're laying the foundation of a life that doesn't need them in it. And here's the most savage part. You didn't announce it. You didn't post a glow-up selfie with a caption like, "New beginnings." You didn't make dramatic statements about healing and moving on. You just moved. Quietly, strategically, relentlessly. And now your silence speaks fluently in success. Every hour you used to spend overthinking about them, you now invest in your body, your focus, your grind. Every ounce of emotion you used to give them, you now channel into self-mastery. And guess what? It shows. But they don't get to see it from up close. They get the wide-angle view, the version through a screen, a feed, a rumor. Because when they had access, they took it for granted. And now they don't even get a seat at the table. They're outside, nose pressed to the glass, watching you eat everything they once disrespected. They lost the privilege. You didn't take revenge. You upgraded. Let them wonder where your energy went. Let them question why your name doesn't light up their phone anymore. Let them feel the absence they never thought they'd notice. Because that's what happens when you build in silence. You become the storm they didn't see coming. And if you're sitting there thinking, what if they come back? That's not your job to plan for. That's their burden. Your job now is to become so far gone, so far evolved, so locked into your mission, that if they do return, they find a version of you they can't touch anymore. Because healing isn't revenge. Elevation is. The old you would have posted a quote just to get their attention. The new you doesn't even check if they saw it. The old you would have texted, "I miss you," at 1 a.m. The new you is asleep early, waking up to hit the gym, drinking water, fasting from drama. The old you would have stalked their page. The new you doesn't even care what they're doing because you're too busy doing you. This is your becoming. This is the phase they don't see. The phase where the pain forged discipline, where the silence birthed momentum, where the heartbreak opened the door to purpose. You were never weak. You were just misplaced. And now, you're home, in yourself. So here's your reminder. You don't need to explain your glow. You don't need to prove your healing. You don't need to advertise your progress. Just build in silence, in peace, in fire, and let them choke on the dust of your distance. Comment it right now. Say it and mean it. I build in silence. Say it for the one who was overlooked. Say it for the one who begged. Say it for the version of you that gave more than you got. That person, they're gone, buried under layers of growth, resilience, and focus. And what rises now? Unstoppable. Stay with me. because next we're going to talk about what emotional control really means, and why, when they can't shake you anymore, that's when they truly fall apart. Number 6. Emotion is a weapon. Don't let them use yours against you. They don't fear your love. They fear your composure, because the moment you stop reacting, you become untouchable. Let's not sugarcoat it, my friends. Emotions are powerful, but when left undisciplined, they don't make you strong. They make you vulnerable. They make you readable, predictable, manipulatable, and if you've ever been played, ghosted, or discarded only to end up over-explaining yourself, sending long texts, begging for clarity, then you already know what I'm talking about. You weren't just feeling your emotions, you were being used by them. And let me tell you, people who toy with your heart count on that. They expect you to spiral, to explode, to lash out or crumble. They expect you to self-destruct in real time, right in front of them, just so they can walk away saying, "See, they were the problem." That's how they rewrite the story. That's how they stay the hero. And you're left cleaning up the mess, yours and theirs. But not anymore. Emotional control isn't about being a robot. It's not about bottling everything up and pretending you don't feel pain. It's about mastery. It's about owning your emotions so deeply, so calmly, that no one can use them as strings to puppet your behavior. Imagine this. You're holding a sword. A beautiful, polished, razor-sharp blade. That's your emotion, and in the hands of a warrior, it's deadly. But in the hands of a fool, it's a danger to everyone, including themselves. Now think, who's been holding your emotional sword? Have you handed it to people who only show up when it benefits them? People who slice you open and walk away clean? That ends now. You don't chase with feelings. You channel them. You don't react out of weakness. You respond out of wisdom. Because here's the truth they never taught you. The less you react, the more they reveal. Stay calm long enough, and every mask around you falls off. Every manipulation tactic collapses. Silence and composure are the two things a toxic person cannot stand. They want the chaos. They feed off the drama. They live for the emotional supply. So when you go quiet, when you don't flinch, when you don't comment, argue, post about them, or send that 3 a.m. text, they lose their grip. Because unpredictability is power, and emotional detachment doesn't mean you're empty. It means you're finally in control. Let me break a lie here. You've been taught that silence is weakness, that not reacting means you don't care, that if you don't express your pain, you're cold. But let me flip that on its head. True strength is feeling deeply and choosing discipline over impulse. They don't need to know how much it hurt. They don't deserve access to your pain, because every time you share it with someone who doesn't value it, it becomes fuel for their ego. It becomes proof that they still live in your mind. It gives them that subtle, smug satisfaction of knowing, I still matter. But when you give them nothing, when they check your page and see nothing, when they bait you with silence and you don't bite, when they try to test your emotions and you just keep walking, that's when they start questioning everything. Did I ever matter? Are they over me? Why don't they care anymore? And here's the kicker, you might still care. You might still feel, but you're not showing it, because your emotions are no longer for public display. You're not running a circus, you're building a kingdom. And in this kingdom, your peace is the ruler, your purpose is the weapon, and your emotions, you keep them sheathed, only used when necessary, never given away for free. You see, a stoic doesn't avoid emotion. A stoic masters it. You can feel the rage, the betrayal, the heartbreak, but you don't bleed on people who didn't cut themselves trying to hold you. You feel it, you process it, and then you transmute it into workouts, into progress, into silence, into elevation. Because the moment you explode emotionally, the moment you try to prove a point through outbursts, the moment you let them know they still live rent-free in your head, that's the moment they win. But when you smile in silence, when you glow without posting, when you evolve without explaining, that's emotional warfare at its finest. Some of you are still struggling with this. I get it. You want to tell them how much they hurt you. You want them to understand your side. You want them to feel what you felt. But listen to me. You don't owe explanations to people who ignored your effort. You don't owe closure to people who broke doors on the way out. And you sure as hell don't owe reactions to people who only show up when they need an ego boost. Every time you respond, you reset the power. But every time you stay calm, you rewire the dynamic. You rise while they wait for a meltdown that never comes. And when that silence stretches long enough, it starts whispering truths they never wanted to hear. They don't need me anymore. They've changed. I lost someone real. And that, my friends, is the final twist. They realize too late that the person they used to control emotionally is gone, replaced by someone who feels everything but is ruled by nothing. So the next time your fingers hover over the keyboard, stop. The next time you want to scream into the void or write that last message just to get it off your chest, breathe, let it sit, let it simmer, then channel it, burn it off in the gym, convert it into clarity. Let it fuel your vision, not feed their ego. Because when you don't react, you become the storm they never prepared for. You become mystery. You become a riddle they can't solve. You become the version of yourself they only now realize they can't manipulate, can't predict, and can no longer reach. So drop this in the comments below, right now. I respond with calm. I rise in silence. Say it for the you who used to break. Say it for the you who used to overshare. Say it for the new you, the one who has turned emotional pain into spiritual armor. And stay with me, because next we go even deeper. We're going to talk about detachment and why the moment you let go is the exact moment you become dangerous. Number 7. Detachment makes you dangerous. The moment you detach, not out of spite but out of clarity, you become the one thing they never prepared for, untouchable. Let's make something clear right now. They didn't expect you to detach. They expected delay. They expected confusion. They expected you to hang in emotional limbo, waiting, wondering, hoping. Because that's what they were used to, you staying available, you being the one who always cared more, you chasing, checking in, sending the "just wanted to see how you're doing" messages. But what they didn't see coming was your evolution. And detachment, that's your final transformation. Detachment isn't bitterness. Detachment isn't coldness. It's clarity. It's the cleanest line you'll ever draw between who you were and who you're about to become. Detachment is the day you finally unplug your self-worth from their validation. You stop needing to be seen. You stop needing to be heard. You stop needing their attention to feel significant. You don't ghost them out of revenge. You let go because you've outgrown the version of yourself who begged for connection from someone who didn't respect it. They lost access, and that's when they feel the shift. When you detach, you become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. See, when they could read you, they could control you. They knew your patterns. They knew what to say, what to do, what silence to weaponize. But now you've broken the script. You're off the grid, emotionally untraceable, and that confusion, that's where their panic starts. Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a puppet show. The puppet moves because of the strings. The string moves because of the one controlling it. But what happens when the puppet stops responding? When the strings fall slack, the puppeteer stands there, powerless. That's detachment. That's you cutting the strings. And now they're holding nothing, talking to silence, watching you from a distance while you move like a ghost they can't catch. You want to know what makes you dangerous? It's not rage, it's not revenge, it's the fact that you're no longer affected. You've stopped bleeding out for people who never once bandaged your heart. You've stopped explaining your soul to people who came to misunderstand it on purpose. You've stopped inviting people to your peace who only showed up to stir your storms. That's when they feel it, when they try to get your attention with old tricks and nothing happens. When they post for you and you don't watch. When they test your emotions and you stay still. When they come back with breadcrumbs and you don't even look down. That's the moment you rise above the chaos and they start realizing, I can't reach them anymore. And here's what most people never grasp. Detachment doesn't mean you never cared. It means you cared enough to walk away. It means you realized that no amount of loyalty can save someone who's committed to taking you for granted. It means you've shifted your focus from convincing them of your worth to embodying it without explanation. They thought you'd always be around. They thought you'd linger. They thought they could walk away and come back like nothing happened. But detachment teaches the lesson that words never could. You no longer live where they left you. Let that sit. Because when you detach, you reclaim everything. Your power, your peace, your dignity. You stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop playing roles you were never meant to audition for. You stop proving yourself in places where you were already enough. And in that silence, in that detachment, you become magnetic. Not to them, but to your higher self, your mission, your purpose. You create space for what actually deserves you. And suddenly, you're not chasing anymore. You're choosing. You're not seeking closure. You are the closure. You're not needing answers. You've become the answer. That's the shift. That's the final form. And listen, I know letting go is hard, especially when you loved with your whole heart, especially when you believed in their potential, especially when your soul still reaches for something that your mind knows isn't coming back. But you have to understand, detachment isn't about disconnecting from love. It's about disconnecting from pain disguised as love. You deserve peace. You deserve presence. You deserve someone who chooses you without games, without fear, without manipulation. And you'll never meet that person while you're still emotionally tethered to someone who couldn't handle the realness of you. So let it go. Let them wonder. Let them feel the weight of your absence. Let them realize, too late, that you were the safe place they'll never return to. Because now you're not available, you're not reachable, you're not the same. You've gone silent, you've gone inward, and you've become something rare, unshakable. And if they ever come back, if they ever realize what they lost, if they ever say, I miss you, you won't feel that old pull anymore. Because by then, you'll be standing in a version of yourself that no longer flinches when someone walks away. You'll smile, and you'll keep walking. Because your healing, your power, your rebirth, it was never about them. It was always about you. So if you're still here, if this message hit somewhere deep, then right now, drop this in the comments. I am detached. I am dangerous. Say it like you mean it. Say it for the version of you who broke. Say it for the future you who will never settle again. Say it for everyone who thought you'd never recover. And if this spoke to your soul, if you're ready to stop chasing, stop explaining, stop overgiving, then hit that like button right now. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. Because this journey, this transformation, It's just getting started. This was never about getting them back. This was about getting you back. Welcome home.